I've been listening to trashy melodrama novels since I was in the womb. This caused me to be born with persecution complex. While other boys discussed superheroes, I worried about being bullied. So, armed with tiny cameras and cheap recorders, I crawled through shadows like a junior detective. While the boys around me tried flirting, I practiced arguments, terrified someone would outsmart me. I joined every debate contest, sharpening my tongue until it could cut through steel. But by 16, I still hadn't run into that legendary villain who was supposed to falsely accuse me. My foster parents were gentle. My classmates were silly but harmless. My teachers were dedicated. I was beginning to think maybe I really was imagining danger until a luxury car parked outside the school gates. A glamorous woman rushed over, clutched me like a returning soldier, sobbing hard enough to drown us both, while shielding her precious son, Ryan. "Lincoln, this is Ryan. From now on you two are brothers, so treat each other well." Ryan nodded politely. The moment we got home, he slipped his Rolex into my pocket and cried that I had stolen it. He wept like a dying swan. And under the judging gazes of the entire Johnson family, I pulled out 3 action cameras like a magician presenting his finale. "Come on, let's check the footage together." Every Johnson froze. Ryan stared at the devices in horror. You recorded everything since you walked in the door?" I happily grabbed one camera, scrolling until I found the part where we had been alone. Relax, I covered every angle. Nothing slips past this setup. Ryan blanched. Before I even hit the right timestamp, my so-called sister, Shannon, cut in sharply. "Enough. Stealing is stealing. Are you suggesting Ryan set you up?" I watched him grow up. I know what kind of person he is. Classic villainous line. Absolutely iconic. I sighed, dragged the video slider, and paused at the perfect frame. There it was, Ryan's hand half in my pocket, the watch glinting under the light. His expression was pure disdain. "Lincoln, don't get cocky just because you're the biological son. Mom, Dad, and Shannon will always love me more. I can kick you out anytime." Right there. I zoomed in and showed each of them the evidence. "So, does this prove I didn't steal anything?" The parents looked torn. Shannon just stared at Ryan, confused. I clapped my hands. "Why is everyone quiet?" "Ryan, since they're shy, you explain. What was the plan for framing me?" Ryan burst into tears again, wobbling like he might topple over. I didn't." Then he collapsed dramatically. A minute earlier they had been frozen. Now all 3 of them shouted his name and rushed him to the hospital. I jogged beside them. "Hey, don't faint yet, you haven't confessed. Pass out after explaining." Shannon spun around and shouted, "Lincoln, the house is already a mess. Ryan is unconscious and you still nag him. Do you have any decency?" I blinked at her. "I brought the evidence. You didn't apologize. Who is lacking decency here?" They refused to hear another word and hurried off. Fine by me. I stretched, packed up my cameras, and savored my first victory in the Johnson household. Ryan milked his fainting episode for 3 whole days in the hospital. The parents and Shannon hovered around him nonstop. Me, the biological son they supposedly searched half their lives for, didn't get so much as a hello. I couldn't be bothered. Instead, I instructed the butler to place cameras in every hallway, at every corner, especially near places where accidents could be staged like the stairs. The butler stared at me. "Young Master Lincoln, are we living in a danger zone?" I flashed him a secretive smile and told him to continue. 3 days later, the cameras were fully in place. Ryan finally came home, looking fragile and smug. When his mom stepped away to pour water, he tilted his head, ready to say something vicious. I raised my hand and gestured to the 10 cameras surrounding us. His mouth snapped shut. Thanks to my surveillance network, the afternoon passed without a single incident. At dinner, everyone finally gathered. The parents filled Ryan's bowl. Then they filled mine, almost guiltily. "Lincoln, Ryan didn't mean what he did last time. He was insecure because your return caught him off guard. We already reprimanded him. He promised he won't repeat it. Can you forgive him?" I was busy eating and didn't respond. Their gazes drifted to the rows of cameras mounted around the dining room. "Do we really need all of these?" I swallowed. "Why not? Do you have something to hide?" They hesitated, then hesitated again, then hesitated a 3rd time. Shannon slammed her bowl down. "Lincoln, is this what your foster family taught you? No manners at all." I blinked. "So, you're the one with something to hide?" She stammered. "Nonsense. I just hate seeing you bully Ryan." I gasped softly. Ah, so he's hiding something. Ryan started crying again. Shannon cursed. Since none of them objected further, I calmly finished my food. Before dinner ended, the parents pulled me aside. Lincoln, we already enrolled you at Westminster Prep. Ryan studies there too, so let him show you around tomorrow. There it was. The mandatory plot event of every fake young master story. My heart did a flip, but I kept a straight face and nodded. The next morning, the moment I stepped out of the car, Ryan leaned toward me with a nasty glare and hissed under his breath. Lincoln, Westminster Prep is mine. If you think I'll let you walk around comfortably, you're dreaming. Otherwise, I'm not a Johnson. He was expecting me to panic. My bewildered look made him even more smug. What, scared? If you are, go back to wherever you came from. I tilted my head. But your surname isn't really Johnson to begin with. His expression twisted like he had swallowed a lemon. He spat out a shaky, "You just wait," and stormed off. I hopped out of the car behind him and stared at the grand campus. My heart thumped with excitement. All these years I had studied every trope of abused protagonists fighting back, yet the universe never gave me a worthy opponent. Teachers had been wholesome, classmates harmless, and it left me looking like an edgy kid pretending to be in danger. But now, finally, I had a plot. Destiny did have plans for me after all. Even minor characters were useful, and a villain had shown up to fulfill his role. I tightened my backpack straps and marched through the gates, head high. Mom and Dad had arranged everything. Ryan and I were in different classes. But as expected, the eyes following me were not warm. Everyone looked at me with polite confusion or suppressed gossip. While the homeroom teacher introduced me, I opened my bag and revealed the thick stack of DNA reports I had printed last night. 3 matching Ryan and Dad. 1 matching me and Dad. 1 matching me and Mom. With a serious, academic tone, I handed them out like flyers at a science fair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lincoln Johnson, the biological son who was switched at birth. I'm not an illegitimate kid, not a distant relative, not a stray picked up from the roadside. According to these reports, Ryan's mother swapped me out and left me in a dumpster on a snowy night. I practice Taekwondo, know some basic martial arts, and I'm usually gentle and easy to get along with. I hope we'll get along. Their expressions came in every shade possible. Before sitting down, I added cheerfully, "If anyone wants extra copies to show your friends, come see me anytime." By the first break, the whole room buzzed with whispers. I ignored the noise and studied my notes. By the second break, Ryan finally arrived with his 2 loyal shadows. He stood before my desk with a soft, wounded voice that carried across the room. "Brother, Mom and Dad told me to take care of you. Are you adjusting all right after coming from your old school? I won't hold it against you for sending me to the hospital earlier. Just please, don't make trouble for me again." His helpless look was impressive, almost cinematic. His lackeys burst with righteous indignation. "Ryan, you're too forgiving. He's just a freeloader at your house, and he dares to bully you. He even steals from you. I bet he's an illegitimate child. Let us deal with him." But the classroom was dead silent. No one joined them. No one even looked sympathetic. They stared at the trio, the way people watch a bad reality show. Ryan sensed something was off. "Lincoln, Mom said you brought bad habits from the countryside. You didn't lie to everyone on your first day, did you?" "Everyone. I'm sorry if my brother said anything strange." His lackeys were fuming. Why apologize to him? He should be the one kneeling to you. My desk mate finally couldn't hold back. He lifted one of the DNA reports. "Maybe read this before continuing your performance?" The lackeys scanned the document. Their bravado evaporated. "So you're the one who isn't a Johnson? You've been lying to us." Ryan's eyes filled and overflowed. He fled the classroom in tears. The audience looked deeply unsatisfied, like the show ended before the best part. Ryan cried through the entire ride home. Well, technically, he took the car alone and left me at the school gate, so the crying happened at home before I arrived. I called Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson's secretary, and the driver, and declared, "Ryan abandoned me at the gate. I don't know the way home. If a Johnson car doesn't show up in 10 minutes, I'll tie myself to the school gate and yell that the Johnson family can't even afford to pick up their child. We can all lose face together." The driver arrived in under 10 minutes. Mom sat on the sofa, holding Ryan while he sobbed dramatically. Shannon stood like a guard dog, ready to unleash her anger on me. "Lincoln, didn't I tell you not to bully Ryan? Why did you tell everyone he isn't a Johnson?" I blinked. "Is he a Johnson? That was his mother's mistake. He's innocent." So, is he a Johnson? She opened her mouth, found nothing to say, and pointed at me like she wished she could throw lightning bolts. So, what if he isn't? Blood doesn't matter. The only brother I recognize is Ryan. I stared at the two of them quietly for a few seconds, then my expression shifted, as though something clicked. Shannon froze. Why are you looking at me like that? I always wondered why you felt nothing for your real brother, who was switched at birth and almost froze to death, but you defend the one who lived my life for 16 years. I thought maybe you had a moral issue. But just now, you said your feelings can't be replaced by blood. Her face went crimson. Stop talking nonsense. There's only one explanation. You're not related to him by blood, so you're free to love him however you want. I support your relationship completely. Mom's hands trembled. She set Ryan down instinctively. She turned and stared at Shannon and Ryan with suspicion. Shannon stumbled backward like she wanted to escape to another country. I'm not. I didn't. I would never. I sipped my tea calmly. If you wouldn't defend a fake son over your real one. Shannon had no comeback. She spun around and fled. The next few days went by far too quietly. Ever since that confrontation, the Johnson parents kept eyeing Ryan with a strange mix of doubt and caution, almost like they were finally wondering what kind of creature they had raised. Shannon avoided him like he carried a contagious disease. Even the students at school behaved. No more whispering or weird probing questions. For a moment, I worried that life had become too peaceful. Then our shared birthday arrived, along with the recognition banquet. My official introduction as the Johnson family's second young master would be folded neatly into the celebration, complete with changing my surname back. Anyone who has read even one dog blood novel knows that banquets are bloodier battlefields than any war drama. So I charged every action camera I owned, surveyed the venue like I was planning a military operation, and put together a little surprise for Ryan. Nothing too big, just something to spice up the evening. When guests arrived, their little flock of rich kids immediately surrounded Ryan, showering him with attention. Every now and then they would glance at me like I was an unwelcome piece of furniture. I walked straight toward them. If you're gossiping about me, I can fetch a mic so everyone can hear clearly. They clearly weren't expecting that. A few exchanged awkward looks. Ryan flashed that practiced gentle smile of his. We were talking about Herm's square root S's new line. Oh, I forgot. Brother grew up in the countryside, so he probably hasn't heard of it. Laughter bubbled up around him. Ryan gave a soft, apologetic sigh, pretending he had accidentally gone too far. Come on, brother, it's almost time for us to go up. Let's go find Mom. Right on cue, the butler approached. Madam stained her gown while speaking with a guest. She is changing upstairs. I adjusted the tiny camera clipped under my lapel and followed them up. The room was empty, except for Mother's dress laid neatly on the table. No obvious trap props. So, I stepped in. The second I crossed the threshold, my knees buckled. A sharp chemical scent filled the air behind me. Ryan pressed a cloth over my face. Idiot, you really fell for it again. Did you think I would repeat my mistakes? The world tilted. My limbs went soft. His voice dripped with jealousy and resentment. Why didn't you die out there? Why come back to steal my parents? My sister? They all look at me differently because of you. You ruined everything. I wiped the surveillance on this floor, so go ahead and disappear. No one will ever find you. A woman dressed as hotel staff rolled in a cleaning cart. Together they wrestled my limp body into a large trash bin and sealed the lid with tape. Darkness swallowed everything. I could barely move, my breathing shallow, my consciousness drifting. The garbage cart rumbled forward. The truck is ready, the woman muttered. Ryan's voice sounded relieved. Good. Sell him somewhere remote. I want him rotting in a mountain village as company for lonely widows. That is the life he deserves. The cart rolled toward the delivery doors. I felt the bin lifted, placed inside a cargo hold. Then the truck started moving. Somewhere far behind, inside the glittering banquet hall, I vaguely heard Ryan's name being called to the stage. Curled up in my grim little container, I let a slow smile spread across my face. Happy birthday, Ryan. The stream has already begun. Downstairs, the parents, unable to find me, reluctantly pushed Ryan onto the stage first. Ryan put on a dramatic show of concern. Mom, Dad, brother must not be used to crowds. Please don't worry. He'll come out once he calms down. He walked toward the stage, every step smooth and elegant. When he stood under the lights, He looked exactly like the person he desperately wanted to be, the beloved heir. "Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Johnson." Thunderous applause. He looked magnificent, right up until every speaker in the venue crackled to life. Ryan's voice blasted out at deafening volume. "The truck is ready. My request is simple, sell him as far away as possible. I want him stuck in some mountain valley as entertainment for widows. Understand? Lincoln, this is the life you deserve." "So, what if he is the biological son? I am the one who has lived with mom and dad for over 10 years. Every guest froze. Ryan went pale, shouting frantically, "Turn it off. That's not me. It's fake. Turn it off." But he was drowned out by his own voice. Then the projector lit up. A high-speed replay of everything from the moment I stepped into the room to the moment he knocked me out filled the screen. His hatred, his sneer, every distorted expression was shown in perfect clarity. Mrs. Johnson snapped. She stormed on stage and slapped him so hard the sound echoed. "You monster! What did you do to Lincoln?" Ryan held his cheek, tears spilling pitifully. Mr. Johnson, unable to contain himself, struck him again. Only then did Ryan howl desperately. "I don't know. I don't know where they took him. They're actual traffickers. Lincoln is gone. He's gone forever. Mom, Dad, you only have me now. You must save me." Mrs. Johnson collapsed, wailing. What do we do? What do we do, my child, my Lincoln?" The whole hall turned chaotic. Police were called. Guests whispered their horrified sympathy. Even with Ryan's evil exposed, if I disappeared forever, none of it mattered. But the projector lit up again. A live stream window appeared, documenting 100 methods fake young masters used to frame real ones. The viewer count had already broken 10,000. Chat exploded in real time. Some had already called the police. The authorities were tracking the stream's location. It didn't matter who wanted to protect Ryan. It didn't matter who hesitated. The moment I pressed start on that stream, the entire internet became my witness. Ryan stared at the footage, trembling. Impossible. I crushed his cameras. What is he using to stream? No one answered him. But the police did answer by arriving and snapping cold metal cuffs around his wrists. When I finally woke up, I was staring at a sterile white hospital ceiling. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson hovered close, eyes swollen from crying. Even Shannon stood nearby, looking uneasy. "Lincoln, you're awake. Are you in pain? Do you feel sick?" Aside from the splitting headache, I was fine. The micro camera had already been taken as evidence. Once they were sure I was alive, the parents began their scolding. "Why didn't you tell us Ryan might hurt you?" We were terrified. As if I could predict every deranged decision Ryan made. I wasn't psychic. I simply prepared for every possible plotline based on all the novels I had read. Even if I told you Ryan would hire outsiders to kidnap me, would you have believed me? I asked calmly. Would you have watched him? Restricted him? Sent him to the police? Silence. Of course not. They always dismissed everything with "Ryan wouldn't hurt you. He is just confused." After a long pause, Mrs. Johnson whispered, "Lincoln, Ryan is still young. Could you write a letter forgiving him? I'll discipline him well." I looked past her to my foster parents, who had been standing quietly at the door. "Mom, Dad, once I'm discharged, let's go home." The Johnson couple froze. Mr. Johnson rushed to my side. "Lincoln, what are you talking about? You are our child. You cannot leave." "Why not?" I stood up slowly. "You tested me when I came back. You waited before announcing me publicly. You wanted to see what kind of son I would be. I passed your test. Then you held the banquet. I put on my jacket. So I ran a test of my own. And you failed. You don't deserve to be my parents. I choose to live with the people who raised me." I walked out holding my foster mother's hand. Before ever meeting them, I had decided the easiest way to avoid the fate of a bullied young master was simple: don't return to the rich family at all. But my foster mother told me that people live to experience life, not run from it. So I came to see. They used their small salaries to buy cameras and equipment simply because I wanted them. They listened to me, even when my ideas seemed paranoid or dramatic. They are my real parents. Blood ties don't erase years of affection. I left with them, while the Johnsons remained standing behind us, motionless for a very long time. Back home, my foster mom made me a bowl of beef noodles, and I slept in my old bed like nothing catastrophic had happened. They promised that as long as I called them Mom and Dad, they would always be my parents, and that felt like the warmest vow in the world. After a few days of rest, I returned to school. Classmates asked if I was okay, so I told them, with relish, how I'd anticipated every possibility. Even Shannon sent a brief apology. A few days later, the Johnsons came to see me again. Mr. Johnson looked guilty, Mrs. Johnson distracted, like grief and shame kept tugging at them. Maybe seeing Ryan in prison, or watching the live stream go viral, had pried open their consciences, or perhaps their company had taken a hit. Either way, they sat in our small living room with bowed heads. "Lincoln, we were wrong. Give us a chance," Mr. Johnson said. He and Mrs. Johnson offered to remove Ryan from the family registry once he turned 18. They apologized for what I'd suffered, and they begged for forgiveness. Mrs. Johnson, voice trembling, told me she had given birth to me, that the separation had been agony, that everything since learning the truth felt like a knife. My foster mother listened, then surprised me by asking me to consider forgiving them. She's kind enough to see the best in people, so she urged me to be merciful. I told them I would cooperate with any official inquiries, but the rest would depend on how they proved themselves. Their joy was immediate. They moved me into the master bedroom, doubled my allowance, paid to renovate my foster parents' house, and tried to make tangible amends. Even when Ryan, from prison, begged for visits and funds, they refused. For a while their sincerity seemed real. Sometimes I would find Mrs. Johnson standing at Ryan's door, lost. I kept silent. On trial day, we all went. Prison had stripped Ryan of his polish. He wore orange, and his hair was dull. When he saw me, he alternated between rage and desperate pleading. "You ruined everything," he spat, then in the next breath screamed, "Mom, Dad, why won't you see me?" He lunged for his family, only to be yanked back by guards. "Sister, say something, I'm your brother." The court sentenced him to 3 years. I felt satisfied with the outcome. That evening Mrs. Johnson slipped a transfer document into my lap, a belated birthday present. She told me, through tears, about the nanny who had swapped us when she was dying, how the family only discovered the truth after an accident when Ryan was 10, and how ignorance and regret had led them to keep the wrong child. She owned their failure and asked if I could forgive her. I listened, but I didn't promise anything. She reached out to my foster mom on social media, and the two women became friendly. Mr. Johnson started asking about my studies and friends, trying to be involved. To make up, they held a proper recognition ceremony for me. Shannon publicly apologized and even introduced me to some of her social circle. Over time, she quietly sent me study aids and gifts, trying to bridge the awkward distance between us. Gradually, I softened toward her. She hadn't deliberately hurt me. After that, I dove into schoolwork and internships. Time does heal some wounds. I immersed myself in high school, then won a place at the top local university. My parents wanted finance for the company, but my lifelong suspicion drew me to criminal investigation. I majored in criminal justice, dreaming of becoming a detective. Ryan was released the year I started college. The prison years had marked him, a long scar down his face, skin rougher. He fell at his parents' feet, pleading, promising he'd changed. He cried, he blamed himself, he begged for forgiveness. I watched quietly, phone discreetly recording and my location shared with my foster dad, old habits intact. Mrs. Johnson urged me to accept him back fully, but I took a different route. I told the family I would not block them from helping Ryan, provided conditions were met. He must move out, support himself, receive no Johnson shares or property, and if he threatened anyone again, I would act without mercy. Ryan's theatrics turned to bitter anger. "You're heartless," he shrieked, claiming his suffering meant he deserved another chance. I told him the difference between us. I protected myself through legal and prudent means, while he chose cruelty and schemes. If he truly wanted to start over, renouncing the old ways and accepting honest work was the path. He chose otherwise. In a few weeks, he took the money his parents gave him and left for the South, supposedly to start a business. I continued with college, excelled in criminal justice, joined real investigations, and eventually passed the police exam with top marks. At graduation, the four parents sat together, proud. They asked if things would have turned out differently had they acted sooner. I told them maybe, maybe not, the lesson was what we learned. Years later, I became a detective specializing in child trafficking. Each rescued child reminded me of the fragile line between fate and cruelty. Once, working out of state, I heard Ryan had opened a modest company down south, and people said he'd changed into a hard-working businessman. He never reached out, and I didn't seek him out. Perhaps it was for the best. Everyone lives with the consequences of their choices. The spring festival arrived again, and as always the Johnsons came to celebrate with my foster parents. Shannon was now married to a good man. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson had more silver in their hair, but their spirits were steady and bright. My foster parents had grown older too, yet their kindness had never dimmed. Halfway through the New Year meal, my foster mother suddenly looked at me. "Lincoln, do you still remember when I urged you to return to the Johnsons?" I nodded. "I remember. You told me that life is about walking through many kinds of scenery. Do you regret it?" I glanced at the table, filled with familiar faces and warm dishes, then smiled. No regrets. The path was winding, but it allowed me to have two families and learn what I needed to learn. My foster father lifted his glass. "Then that is enough. A toast to our Lincoln." Everyone raised their glasses. The light in the room softened their smiles, making everything feel gentle and complete. Outside, fireworks burst one after another, marking the arrival of a new year. In that moment, I thought about the versions of myself, the one who seemed to absorb melodramatic stories even before I was born, and the one I had become now, a detective who faced the world head-on. Both versions were trying to push against the cruelty around them, and the lesson that stayed with me was simple. Not every wound deserves forgiveness, yet every experience deserves a place in memory. They shaped me into the person I am now. Someone who no longer stays on guard every second. Someone who can shield others. Someone with the rare blessing of two families. As for Ryan, his name still drifted through my thoughts at times. Not with anger, not with pity, but with a mixture of feelings I can never quite separate. He showed me how complicated people can be and how important our choices are. I hoped that somewhere far from my sight, he had truly changed. Everyone deserves a chance to start again. Some just have to pay a heavier price before they understand that lesson.